Kayla, Atlanta took 36 threes in their first game. You obviously are a fan of shooting from deep. Is there a point in your development you realized how important shooting or long-range play would be important to either you or the future of how basketball is going?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the evolution of basketball. I don't think it was like any moment of during my career where I was like, oh, like now I need to shoot a bunch of threes. I think it's just how the game's kind of evolved, and you got to give Steph a lot of credit for what he's been able to do for a lot of shooters and just inspiring kids to want to be great shooters. The game hasn't always been played that way. I mean, we started basketball with no three-point line, so the game has come a long way, and I think that's the great thing about basketball. It's just continuing to evolve and continuing to get better and continuing to see players with better skill sets. So obviously I'm a big fan of a lot of threes, and Atlanta's going to be able to do that. I think obviously they play with two big players, but they're still shooting threes as well. Like everybody on their team is shooting threes, so gotta have our hands up and contest everything.
I wonder if you could talk about what your favorite part of a team building process is, and especially your individual part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for myself, it's different, a lot different from college and now being a professional. Like, teams are changing so much from year to year. Obviously, you've seen that with our team just this year, and from what we had last year, now coming into this year, there's 5 returning players of our 11, and even through training camp, I think we had started with 15, and there was still 5. So I think that's what's a fun challenge of like being able to put all these pieces together and finding what works well and what doesn't. And I think you got to go out of your way to build relationships with your teammates, because there's going to be moments that are really tough on the floor. There's going to be moments that are really great, and you can celebrate a lot of those. Like obviously, more so on Saturday, there was a lot of really good moments, and it was a little bit easier to battle when you're up 20 for a good portion of the game. But there's going to be moments where it's not like that all season long. There might be moments where we're down 10, we're down 5, we're down late game, and you need to have that chemistry with your teammates. So I think it's really important to go out of your way to build really great relationships with them, and I feel like this team has really done that, but it's going to be a process. Not everything's going to be perfect here early in the season. It's just continuing to develop that over the course of 44 games and as we reach the playoffs.
Just how much can you take from the preseason game against Atlanta, just with BG being out, or how much are you guys relying on film for this one?
Yeah, I mean, you still go back and watch film and find ways to get better. It is a preseason game, but you still feel their tendencies and what they want to do and their style of play and how they guard and there's certain principles on defense. So you go back and watch that. I think also for us, learning from our first game, there's so much that we can learn just as a team and reflecting on what we're doing. So I think it's a balance of both. And then you watch their film from their first game too. So all 3 of those things combined. Obviously BG didn't play much in our first matchup, so that wasn't really something we had a ton of experience with her as she's been on the Dream. But she's been in this league a long time. A lot of my teammates have matched up with her quite a bit. Obviously, she's shooting quite more threes than what she's usually shot, but I think we're ready and we're prepared for it. So, yeah.
When you talk about that team building and you applied it to the pros, you still had to live through it in college.
Mm-hmm.
And was there a moment with that Iowa team when you felt like things clicked? Could you point to it and say, we're growing, we're getting better, we're getting better together, and then all of a sudden realize, hey, we're there?
Mm-hmm. Probably through the course of my junior year. I think the way we went out my sophomore year, getting upset in the round of 32, it makes you do a lot of self-reflection for quite a few months when you lose in such a bad way at home in front of a sold-out crowd. I think that allowed a lot of growth. And my junior year, we returned all 5 starters, so that was our core. I think we started together for 3 to 4 years. I can't remember exactly what it was, maybe even 4 years. So we were lucky enough to have a lot of time to be able to build that chemistry and build that bond and have each other's backs. But I think certainly our junior year, where we really caught fire there after we beat Indiana at home, went on to win the Big Ten tournament, then reach the national championship game. But kind of just goes back to my point of, that's what's different professionally. You don't have 3 years of the same starting 5. Like I'm sure that's never happened in WNBA history. Maybe you guys can go out there and research that and let me know, but I doubt that's ever happened.
Curious, as point guards, and Bree was in the city previously, have you guys started to form kind of a connection in terms of point guards, and also what stands out to you about the way in which she wants to run this defense?
Yeah, you know, Bree's intense, and I love it as a player. Like, you feed off that competitive spirit coming from your coach. And I think she's really challenged me defensively, and even as a point guard, to be able to take care of the ball and things like that. But everybody on our team has so much respect for her, and she just has such a tremendous basketball mind. She's going to be an amazing head coach one day. I hope she stays here as long as we can keep her, you know. But I think she's really challenged us to be physical. I think even for myself, if I can do my work early on the defensive end before the ball even gets to the person I'm guarding, it'll put me in a lot better position to be able to guard them. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on, and really our whole team of, you know, trying to be in the right position early before the ball's even swung to the player that we're guarding.